When you configure a switch out of the box, you'll most likely have to set up an IP and some basic settings so that the switch will be usable. Granted, a DHCP IP address can be left as is, but in most cases, you don't want to have the IP address change on you. DHCP reservation or a static address can be set depending on how your network is configured. Locating your switch could be troublesome if you don't know where to start. If your network is already in place, DHCP IP addressing is most likely present. You should be able to hook up your switch and find the address it was assigned. However, if DHCP isn't present, connecting to the switch via console port may be required. In this demo, we're going to find our switch's DHCP address. We happen to know our MAC address ends in 28A5, and the vendor is Cisco. Let's launch Angry IP Scanner. First, I'm going to modify the fetcher so that the MAC address and MAC vendor are included with my search. The IP range is automatically set to the range of the computer I'm using, so I'm just going to click Start. Once this is complete, we'll be able to see how many hosts are alive. If I scroll down, you can see here I have a device that's Cisco branded and has the same ending MAC address we were looking for. Most likely this is the correct device, so let's try to access this IP in the web browser. A factory default switch will require you to set up a new user upon login for the first time. We're just going to use Cisco admin and then put in a password and confirm it. Once this is set, we can navigate to the menu of the switch. Currently, the IP address of the switch is set to DHCP, which means it could change. Let's change it to static by going to Administration, Management Interface, and IPv4 interface. You can see it's set to dynamic, which is DHCP. When static is selected, the grayed area goes away, and we're able to modify the address. Since I know my DHCP range is 192.168.30.100 I'll set it to an address outside that range, such as 192.168.30.90. The netmask and gateway are set correctly, as that information was already obtained when it was set to dynamic. Let's apply the setting to the running config. Once this is changed, you'll notice it logs you out of the switch and automatically switches to the newly set IP. We're going to log in again because we're not quite done yet. Normally, Cisco and some other brands set the default VLAN to 1. For basic setup, this will work. However, using VLAN 1 as your main VLAN isn't very secure. Most people know that VLAN 1 is the default VLAN, like a default username and a password on a router. To change our default VLAN, we must go to VLAN Management and then Default VLAN Settings. Just for demo purposes, we're going to switch this to 2. This number can be anything between 1 to 4094, depending on what the user decides. Next, we'll just click Apply. Now that our settings are set up for the IP and the default VLAN, let's save the config. An easy way is to click on the flashing red Save. We want to make sure our source is the running config while the destination is always the startup config. When we apply and click OK, it will save to the startup config. For specific changes to happen, the switch requires a reboot. Under the Administration tab, there will be an option for reboot. Since we're ready to reboot, I'm going to click this now, and OK. We're going to pause the recording since it takes a while to reboot. Alright, our switch is online, so let's try and see if we can log in. It looks good. We're back into the switch. That's it for this demo. In this demo, we described how to search for a switch, set a static IP address, and change the default VLAN to something other than VLAN 1.